Well, you guys have talked about a lot of the stuff already. That the #1 story right now on DenverPost.com is Derek Wolfe.
We can always talk more, Dan.
We could talk more, but I'm going to go in a different direction. Nikki actually had a story today about Rod Smith and Demaryius Thomas, and Rod Smith talking about Demaryius and how this new offense is actually going to make him a more complete football player, but that any hope that he really has of trying to get all those single-season records for receptions and touchdowns, probably not going to happen in Gary Kubiak's offense. What do you think? I mean, maybe Demaryius is just saying that stuff in a press conference because, you know, he really wants to, and certainly individual goals are important. But do you agree with Rod? I mean, is the possibility of Demaryius getting single-season records in this offense even a remote possibility?
Well, yeah, I mean, I don't think anybody believes that Demaryius Thomas is going to catch as many balls for as many yards as he did in the last 2-3 years, simply because they were primarily, foremost, a passing offense. Hell, 2 years ago, they smashed all the passing records in NFL history.
And they didn't win the Super Bowl.
And they didn't win the Super Bowl. This is going to be a more run-oriented offense. It's not going to be totally run-oriented. Whenever you have Peyton Manning and Demaryius Thomas and Emmanuel Sanders and Owen Daniels, you're going to put the ball in the air a lot. So Demaryius is going to have a good number of catches for a good number of yards, and maybe even a few more touchdowns.
And Rod, of all people, is probably, you know, knows this because he played under Kubiak during all those Super Bowls.
Yeah, they had John Elway at quarterback, a Hall of Fame quarterback. They had Ed McCaffrey, a good wide receiver. Shannon Sharp, a great pass-catching tight end. Rod Smith. They threw the ball a lot. But they had one other thing. They had Terrell Davis.
Yes.
And as Rod said in the article, if you didn't block for Mike Shanahan and Gary Kubiak, if you didn't block in the running game, you didn't play. And that's going to be the same thing here. It's still Gary Kubiak running the offense again. So if those wide receivers, DT and Emmanuel Sanders and the rest, don't block, they're not going to be on the field as much. So it will make DT a more well-rounded wide receiver. He still will have big numbers from a pass-catching standpoint. They just won't be as big as they have in the last couple of years.
Right.
Do you really think they're going to take Demaryius Thomas and Emmanuel Sanders out if they are great blockers?
No, they didn't take Julius Thomas out, and he was a terrible blocker. But I think Gary Kubiak and Rick Dennison will demand it more than John Fox and Adam Gase did.
They'll emphasize it.
Yes.
Biggest change is I think that Adam Gase was less concerned about blocking and more let's receive. The running game was mostly an afterthought till middle of last season.
And it's going to get much better.